The information in this video is for educational and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute financial, medical, or professional advice. The predictions discussed are based on complex models and are not guarantees of future events. Please consult with a qualified professional for any specific advice. In late October 2012, two different futures were competing for reality. In one version, a powerful hurricane named Sandy, churning up the Atlantic, would take a predictable path, curving harmlessly out to sea, becoming a footnote in a busy storm season. This was the future predicted by America's top weather model, the Global Forecast System, or GFS. It was the future everyone wanted to believe, but a rival model, run out of a facility in England, was painting a far more terrifying picture. The European Centre for Medium-Range Weather Forecasts, the ECMWF, predicted something that was supposed to be almost impossible. The storm would take an unprecedented, sharp left hook, slamming directly into the most densely populated corridor in the United States. It wasn't a guess. It wasn't a hunch. It was a calculation. A brutal, terrifyingly precise calculation made by a machine with more raw power. For days, meteorologists watched in suspense as these two digital prophecies diverged. One promised safety. The other promised a catastrophe, a superstorm. The European model held its ground. And it was right. Hurricane Sandy made its left turn. It unleashed a 13-foot storm surge on New York City, flooding subways, crippling the financial capital of the world, and inflicting nearly $70 billion in damage. The final cost of that forecasting error, the gap between the two predictions, was measured not just in dollars but in lives. What was the difference? Why did one machine see the future clearly while the other was blind? The answer is simple: computational horsepower. The European system was running on a supercomputer that was, at the time, vastly more powerful than its American counterpart. It could process more data, run more complex simulations, and see the subtle atmospheric signals that our best systems missed. This wasn't a failure of science, it was a failure of hardware. It was a stark, brutal lesson that in the 21st century, the ability to predict the future is a measurable resource. It's a strategic asset more valuable than oil, more powerful than an aircraft carrier. And this race to predict the future is happening far beyond your weather app. Right now, in heavily guarded, climate-controlled rooms around the world, machines of unimaginable power are working on problems that will define the rest of our lives. They're trying to predict the next stock market crash, running millions of simulations of the global economy to find the subtle cracks before they shatter. They're hunting for the cure for Alzheimer's, digitally modeling how millions of different drug compounds interact with proteins in the human brain, doing decades of lab work in a matter of hours. They are the silent partners in our national security, simulating the integrity of our nuclear arsenal without ever having to detonate a weapon, designing hypersonic missiles that fly faster than any defense system can track, and gaming out global conflicts with a cold, logical precision that is both brilliant and chilling. These machines are called supercomputers, but that name doesn't even begin to do them justice. Calling one of them a computer is like calling a nuclear submarine a boat. We need to think bigger. Forget the laptop on your desk. Imagine an entire football field, packed from wall to wall with sleek, black refrigerator-sized cabinets. Now imagine that every one of those cabinets is crammed with the most powerful processors ever created. Link all of them together with thousands of miles of fiber optic cable, so they all think and work as one single colossal brain. Power it with enough electricity to run a small city, and cool it with a river of water to keep it from melting itself into a pile of slag. That is a supercomputer. We measure their speed in something called flops, floating point operations per second. Your laptop might handle a few gigaflops, or a billion calculations per second. The world's most powerful supercomputers now operate in the realm of exaflops. That's a 1 with 18 zeros after it. 1 quintillion calculations per second, a number so vast it's almost meaningless. So let's put it another way. If every single one of the 8 billion people on planet Earth were to perform one calculation every single second, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, it would take them over 4 years to do what an exascale supercomputer does in 1 second. These machines are our modern-day oracles. They are the ultimate crystal ball, built not of mystical quartz, but of silicon, copper, and the absolute bleeding edge of human ingenuity. And for decades they have operated in the shadows, their power understood by only a handful of scientists, generals, and Wall Street quants. But that is all about to change. Because the power of high-performance computing, or HPC, is no longer a niche academic tool. It is becoming the invisible engine that drives our entire world. And that is why we are making this video. Over the next hour, we are going to pull back the curtain on the most powerful machines ever built by humankind. This isn't going to be a boring lecture filled with technical jargon. This is a journey inside the machines that are actively deciding your future. We will break down, in simple, powerful terms, how these digital behemoths actually work. How do you get 1 million computer cores to solve a single problem? How do you feed a machine a petabyte of data, that's 1 million gigabytes, every single day? You will discover who controls this power. You'll learn about the silent, high-stakes arms race raging between the United States and China for computational supremacy. A battle where the winner could gain an almost insurmountable economic and military advantage. We'll take you inside the government labs, the university research centers, and the secretive corporate data centers where the future is being simulated, modeled, and ultimately built. Most importantly, by the end of this presentation, you will understand how this technology is already shaping every aspect of your life. The car you drive, its safety features were perfected through millions of virtual crash tests on a supercomputer. The medicine you take, its molecular structure was likely analyzed and optimized by one. The very design of the phone in your hand was made possible by the immense processing power of HPC. This technology isn't just predicting the future, it is actively creating it. And those who don't understand it risk being left behind. We are at a critical tipping point in history. The convergence of high-performance computing with another revolutionary technology, artificial intelligence, is creating a feedback loop of exponential progress. AI provides the new software, the new algorithms, the new ways of thinking. HPC provides the hardware, the raw brute force power to run those AI models at a scale that was science fiction just 5 years ago. This combination is the rocket fuel of the 21st century, and the launch sequence has already begun. So the question is no longer if these machines will change the world. The question is, what are they predicting right now? What monumental discoveries, what hidden risks, what world-altering truths are locked away inside their calculations at this very moment? To find the answer, we have to go inside the machine. And what you find inside isn't a single giant brain. It's a city. Imagine a warehouse the size of 2 football fields, filled not with boxes, but with sleek black cabinets standing in perfectly straight, humming rows. Each cabinet is packed with thousands of individual computer processors, the same kind of silicon hearts that power your laptop or phone, but stripped down, supercharged, and multiplied to an insane degree. This isn't one computer. It's 100,000 computers, all lashed together, all thinking in perfect unison. The air thrums with the low, constant hum, the collective breath of 1 million cooling fans. The sheer density of computation generates so much heat that without a cooling system the size of an office building, the entire facility would literally melt itself into a puddle of silicon slag in minutes. The power bill for one of these machines can exceed that of a small city. We're talking tens of millions of dollars a year, just to keep the lights on and the thoughts flowing. Think about it this way, if every single person on Earth did 1 calculation per second, it would still take them years to do what one of these top-tier supercomputers does in a single second. It's a level of brute force thinking that is difficult for the human mind to even comprehend. But why? Why build these billion-dollar temples to calculation? The answer is simple: to see the invisible. To understand systems so complex with so many moving parts that they are functionally indistinguishable from pure chaos. Take the weather. For centuries, predicting it was more art than science. A sailor looking at the clouds, a farmer feeling a change in the wind. Then came computers which could run basic models. But they were clumsy. They saw the world in low resolution like a pixelated video game. They could tell you it might rain tomorrow, but they couldn't tell you if a gentle spring shower would turn into a city-leveling hurricane. Today, a machine like the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's supercomputer doesn't just look at the weather. It inhales it. Every second, it pulls in a fire hose of data from tens of thousands of sources. Satellites tracking cloud temperature from space. Weather balloons tasting the air in the upper atmosphere. Ocean buoys measuring the warmth of the currents. Radar scans mapping every raindrop. It takes this snapshot of the entire planet, a dizzying, impossibly complex picture of reality, and it uses that as a starting point. Then the magic happens. It doesn't just calculate one future. That would be a guess. Instead, it creates a digital ghost of the storm. It runs a simulation. And then, tweaking a single variable by an infinitesimal amount, the temperature of the Atlantic by 1/100th of a degree, the wind speed over the Sahara by a fraction of a mile per hour, it runs the simulation again. And again. And again. 1,000 times, 100,000 times. Inside its processors, 1,000 different hurricanes are born, live, and die in the space of a few hours. Some veer harmlessly out to sea. Some slam into the coast with terrifying force. Some fizzle out before they even get a name. The supercomputer isn't predicting one single future. It's mapping out the entire landscape of possibility. The result is that famous cone of uncertainty you see on the news. That cone isn't a sign of weakness. It's a map of the most likely futures, a statistical masterpiece that tells us not just where the storm will go, but where it could go. This isn't just about knowing whether to pack an umbrella. This is the difference between evacuating a city of 3 million people for nothing and giving them the crucial 24 hours they need to get to safety before the storm of the century makes landfall. It is prediction as a life-saving weapon. That's a storm in the sky. But what about a storm inside our own bodies? What about a virus? A virus, like a hurricane, is a system of mind-boggling complexity. Think of something like the COVID-19 virus. On its surface is the now infamous spike protein. This protein is like a key, and it's exquisitely shaped to fit a specific lock on the surface of our human cells, a receptor called ACE2. When the key finds the lock, the door opens and the virus gets in. Game over. For decades, finding a drug to stop a virus like this was a process of brutal, slow, expensive trial and error. Scientists would have to physically synthesize thousands of different chemical compounds in a lab, and one by one, test them against the virus in a petri dish. It was like trying to find the one key that will jam a lock by trying millions of random keys from a bucket. Most of them wouldn't even fit. It could take a decade and cost billions of dollars with no guarantee of success. High-performance computing changes the game entirely. Instead of a physical lab, scientists build a perfect atom-for-atom digital replica of that spike protein inside the computer. It's a shimmering, three-dimensional model of the enemy. Then, instead of mixing chemicals, they unleash a digital flood. They can test millions, even billions of potential drug compounds, digital molecules from vast libraries, against the digital virus. The supercomputer simulates the physics of each and every interaction. It calculates the atomic forces, the electromagnetic charges, the precise way a drug molecule might bend and twist as it approaches the spike protein. It's a virtual collision, happening quadrillions of times a second. The machine isn't just guessing. It's predicting with astonishing accuracy which molecular keys are most likely to fit into the viral lock and jam it, preventing the virus from ever entering our cells. What used to take 10 years of lab work can now be narrowed down to a list of the top 100 most promising candidates in a matter of days. This is exactly what happened during the pandemic. Supercomputers around the world, from Oak Ridge National Laboratory to academic institutions, were tasked with this digital hunt. They ran these massive simulations, sifting through the haystack of chemical possibility to find the needle of a potential cure. They didn't replace the scientists, they gave them superpowers. They allowed them to fail 1,000,000 times a minute in a simulation, so they only had to succeed once in the real world. From predicting the path of a hurricane to predicting the effectiveness of a life-saving drug, the principle is the same. These machines are our crystal balls for chaos. They allow us to tame systems so complex they were once considered acts of God, or tragic twists of fate. They find the patterns hidden in the noise, the order buried in the storm. They are making the unpredictable predictable. We've seen how they can model a storm in the atmosphere and a storm in our cells. But what happens when these incredible engines of prediction are turned inward? What happens when they are aimed at the most complex, the most chaotic, the most unpredictable system of all us? The answer seems almost laughably simple at first. To model a human, you just need data. But what data? Your age, your location, your income? For decades, that was the best we could do. Advertisers and political pollsters operated with these blunt instruments, grouping millions of people into crude buckets. Men, aged 35 to 49, living in the Midwest, who subscribed to a sports magazine. They weren't modeling you. They were modeling a blurry, out-of-focus caricature of you. Their predictions were statistical guesses, often wrong, and based on the idea that people in a group behave more or less the same. But we all know that's not true. Your next-door neighbor, who fits your exact demographic profile, might be your polar opposite. One of you drives a pickup truck, the other a hybrid. One listens to country, the other to classical. One is saving for retirement, the other is planning a trip to Mars. The old models couldn't see this. They couldn't see the individual. Because the individual is a chaotic storm of contradictions, memories, and impulses. How do you write an equation for nostalgia? What's the variable for a sudden craving for pizza? Or the gut feeling that tells you not to trust someone? For a machine to predict a person, it needed a new kind of data. Not just who you are, but what you do. Every single second of every day. And in the late 20th and early 21st century, humanity began building the most comprehensive data-gathering machine in history. We called it the Internet. Suddenly, our behaviors, once fleeting and invisible, were being recorded. Every search query was a window into our curiosities and fears. Every like was a vote for our preferences. Every product we clicked on, even if we didn't buy it, was a breadcrumb trail leading to our desires. The song we skipped, the video we watched for only 3 seconds, the friend whose profile we visited a little too often. All of it. It was a fire hose of raw, unstructured, deeply personal information. An amount of data so vast that no human brain, or even 1,000 human brains, could ever hope to process it. But a supercomputer could. This is where high-performance computing turned its gaze inward. Companies you know, companies you use every single day, began pouring billions of dollars into building massive data centers, digital cathedrals filled with humming racks of servers. Their goal was no longer to just group you into a demographic. Their goal was to build a model of one. A model of you. Think about a recommendation engine like the one that suggests what movie you should watch next. The old way would be, people who liked The Godfather also liked Goodfellas. It's a simple correlation. But the new way, powered by HPC, is terrifyingly more sophisticated. The system doesn't just know you watched The Godfather. It knows you watched it on a Tuesday night. It knows you paused it at the 47-minute mark for exactly 12 minutes. It knows you rewound the baptism scene 3 times. It knows that afterward, you searched for the best cannoli recipe. It cross-references this with the fact that you tend to watch longer, more serious films on weeknights, but prefer lighter comedies on weekends. It knows from your social media data that you recently connected with a cousin who lives in New Jersey. It analyzes the color palettes of the movie posters you click on, the cadence of the dialogue in the trailers you finish, the specific actors whose names you've searched for in the past. Each of these data points is a single tiny thread. But a high-performance computer can take billions of these threads from millions of people and weave them together in real time. It's not just looking for correlations anymore. It's looking for the hidden architecture of your taste, the secret blueprint of your desires. It's building a multidimensional mathematical representation of your personality, a kind of digital ghost. Your version 2.0 living on a server farm in Virginia or Oregon. And this digital ghost is constantly being tested. The system will show you a thumbnail with a blue background, and your ghost self a thumbnail with a red one. If you click and the ghost self doesn't, the system learns. It adjusts the ghost parameters, making it a slightly more accurate reflection of you. It will recommend a movie it is 94% certain you will like, but it will also occasionally recommend a movie it is only 58% certain you will like. Why? To see what you'll do. To gather more data. To see if you're changing, evolving. To make the model more robust. It's a relentless, never-ending process of refinement. The machine is running a million tiny experiments on you every day, and you don't even know it. And this goes far beyond what movie to watch. It's the news articles pushed into your feed, shaping your view of the world. It's the products that follow you from site to site, whispering at your insecurities. It's the route your GPS suggests, subtly altering the path of your day. It's even the potential romantic partners it presents to you, nudging the course of your life. Each decision, presented as your own free choice, is often the end result of 1,000 petaflops of computation, a prediction made by your digital twin. Prediction designed to be right. We are, in essence, volunteering to be the most studied generation in human history, not by sociologists in a lab, but by automated systems whose goal is not to understand us for the sake of knowledge, but to predict us for the sake of influence. They are creating weather models, not of clouds and pressure systems, but of human impulse and societal trends. And just like a weather forecast can tell you to bring an umbrella, these new forecasts can tell a company exactly what to say, what to show you, and when to show it to get you to pull out your wallet. The scale of this is staggering. We're not talking about a single server in a closet. We're talking about computing clusters the size of football fields, consuming enough electricity to power a small city. These are the machines that are reading the collective diary of humanity, written in a language of clicks and swipes. They are finding the patterns in our chaos, the signals in our noise. They are learning to predict the most unpredictable animal on the planet. But this leads to a deeply unsettling question. When a system knows you this well, when it knows your weaknesses, your triggers, your deepest desires, often better than you know them yourself, what happens to free will? If a machine can construct an advertisement, a news headline, or a social media post with such surgical precision that it is almost guaranteed to provoke a desired emotional response in you, are you really the one making the choice? Or are you just the final biological cog in a vast predictive machine, executing a command that was written for you milliseconds before you even knew you had a decision to make? This isn't some far-off dystopian hypothetical. This is the hidden architecture of our modern world, running silently in the background of your life. The same predictive power that nudges you towards a brand of soda is a force of nature in its own right, a multi-trillion-dollar engine of influence. But to truly grasp its scale, we have to look past the checkout aisle. We have to look at a force far more powerful, far more chaotic and deadly than consumer trends. We have to look at the sky. Imagine for a moment it's the year 1900. You live in the booming port city of Galveston, Texas. It's a paradise on the Gulf Coast, the Wall Street of the Southwest. On the morning of September 8th, the sky looks a little bruised, the sea a bit restless, but the U.S. Weather Bureau assures everyone there's no cause for alarm. They believe the storm, what we would now call a hurricane, has already passed and is heading up towards Florida. They are catastrophically wrong. Their tools are primitive, barometers, thermometers, and telegrams from other cities reporting their local conditions. They are trying to piece together a continent-sized puzzle with only a handful of pieces, and they're looking at the wrong part of the box. By that afternoon, the city is being erased. A 15-foot wall of water, a storm surge, scours the island clean. Winds over 130 miles per hour turn wooden planks into cannonballs. By the time the sun rises the next day, somewhere between 6,000 and 12,000 people are dead. It remains the deadliest natural disaster in American history. The city of Galveston wasn't destroyed by a storm. It was destroyed by a lack of information. It was destroyed because in 1900, the future was a complete and terrifying mystery. Now fast forward to today. A cluster of thunderstorms blossoms off the coast of Africa. It's barely a blip, a whisper of a storm. But thousands of miles away, something is already watching. Satellites in geosynchronous orbit, their unblinking eyes fixed on the planet, see the subtle rotation in the clouds. Robotic buoys bobbing in the vast, empty expanse of the Atlantic taste the rising temperature of the water and measure the pressure of the air above it. High-altitude reconnaissance aircraft, packed with sensors, fly directly into the heart of the nascent system, gathering data from the inside out. All of this information, petabytes of it, an incomprehensible flood of data, is being streamed in real time, not to a handful of men with notepads, but to a handful of buildings. Anonymous, humming, refrigerated buildings that house the modern gods of Olympus. High-performance computing clusters. Inside these machines, the world is reborn. They don't just look at the data, they consume it. They build a complete, four-dimensional digital replica of the Earth's atmosphere. A digital twin. Think of it like the most complex video game ever created. The entire planet is a map, but instead of pixels, the screen is a grid of billions upon billions of virtual boxes, some just a few kilometers wide. And for every single box, the supercomputer has to solve a set of notoriously complex equations. The Navier-Stokes equations, the fundamental physics that govern how fluids like air and water move, heat, and interact. It calculates the temperature, the pressure, the wind speed, the humidity for every single box. Then it uses that result to calculate the state of that box 1 second into the future. Then it does it again, and again, and again. Billions of calculations for billions of boxes, stepping forward in time, second by second, minute by minute, day by day. It's a brute force assault on the future, simulating the physics of the sky faster than the sky itself can live it. This isn't a guess. It's not a prediction based on what happened last time. It is a deterministic simulation of the future, based on the fundamental laws of the universe. But here's where it gets truly brilliant, and where the ghost of chaos theory comes into play. The scientists who run these models know that their starting data isn't perfect. A sensor could be off by 1/10 of a degree. A wind speed measurement might be a fraction of a mile per hour too low. In a chaotic system like the atmosphere, that tiny, insignificant difference, the proverbial butterfly flapping its wings in Brazil, can cascade into a massive difference a week later, sending a hurricane into Miami instead of harmlessly out to sea. So they don't just run the simulation once. That would be like trying to predict the outcome of a billion-sided dice roll with a single throw. Instead, they run it dozens of times simultaneously. This is called an ensemble forecast. For each run, they deliberately tweak the starting conditions ever so slightly. In one simulation, the ocean is a fraction of a degree warmer. In another, the initial winds are a tiny bit stronger. They create a whole family of slightly different digital Earths, and they let every single one of them evolve. The result is what you see on the news. Not a single sharp line pointing to a city, but a cone of uncertainty. For years, people misunderstood that cone. They saw it as a sign of failure, of weathermen not being sure. But it's the exact opposite. The cone of uncertainty is one of the greatest scientific achievements in human history. It is a map of probability. It's the supercomputer telling us, I have looked into 50 different possible futures. In 45 of them, the storm goes somewhere inside this cone. These are the most likely paths. Prepare. Because of this, the future is no longer a mystery. Days before the storm even has a name, we know it's coming. We know its probable strength. We know its most likely landfall. That knowledge, forged in the silicon heart of a supercomputer, is the difference between life and death on a civilization-wide scale. It allows for the largest, most organized evacuations in human history. It allows emergency services to preposition supplies, for power companies to stage linemen, for governments to declare states of emergency. The Galveston disaster, with its thousands of deaths, is now almost unimaginable, not because the storms are weaker, but because our ability to see them coming is infinitely stronger. We have tamed the chaos not by controlling it, but by understanding it. We have built a machine that can outrun the future, giving us just enough of a head start to get out of the way. The same fundamental process, data ingestion, massive simulation, and probability analysis, that tells a hurricane where to go is what tells a company which ad to show you. The principles are identical. One is predicting the movement of air molecules. The other is predicting the movement of human desire. Both are chaotic, complex systems, and both are becoming increasingly, terrifyingly predictable. We built these machines to predict the wrath of nature, to save us from the planet itself. And they worked. They gave us power over the storm. But what happens when we turn that same predictive power, that same godlike foresight, inward? What happens when the system being modeled isn't the atmosphere, but a society? What happens when the digital twin isn't of the Earth, but of a city, an economy, or even the neural pathways of a human brain? We started by predicting the weather. Where exactly do we stop? The question isn't whether we will stop. The real question is, how could we? When you possess a tool that can peer into the fog of tomorrow, putting it down is not an option. It's an abdication of power. And so we don't stop. We accelerate. We turn the lens of this computational microscope away from the clouds and winds, and we point it directly at ourselves, at our creations, at our own minds. Imagine a city, not the one you see, the one of concrete, steel, and glass. Imagine its digital ghost living inside a supercomputer. Perfect one-to-one replica. Every traffic light, every subway car, every water main, every electrical substation. This isn't science fiction. This is the urban digital twin. Projects like this are being built right now, from Singapore to Los Angeles. In this virtual world, city planners are no longer guessing. They are gods in a digital sandbox. What happens if we shut down this major highway for repairs? In the old world, you get gridlock, chaos, angry commuters, and millions in lost economic activity. In the digital twin, you run the simulation first. The supercomputer models the flow of millions of individual vehicles, each with its own potential destination and route. Sees the choke points before they happen. It reroutes traffic through 1,000 smaller streets, adjusting traffic light timings in real time across the entire city grid to create a seamless, optimized flow. The real-world disruption is minimized, maybe even eliminated, because the disaster already happened 100 times in virtual reality until the perfect solution was found. Now scale that up. A hurricane is bearing down on the coast. Emergency services don't just have a weather forecast. They have a city simulation. They model the storm surge flooding the digital streets. They see which substations will fail and which neighborhoods will lose power. They simulate evacuation routes, predicting where human panic and traffic jams will create deadly bottlenecks. They can see, hours in advance, that a specific bridge will become impassable, and preemptively divert first responders. This isn't just predicting the weather. It's predicting the human response to the weather. It's a crystal ball for civic survival. But our cities, complex as they are just one system we've built. What about the system that dictates our wealth, our livelihoods, our global power structure? What about the economy? Inside the cooled, humming racks of supercomputers hidden in unmarked buildings near Wall Street in London, a different kind of simulation is running. It's a digital twin, not of a city, but of the global financial market. This is where high-performance computing becomes a weapon in a war fought in microseconds. In this world, speed isn't just an advantage, it's the only thing that matters. High-frequency trading algorithms, powered by HPC, execute millions of orders per second. They don't just react to market changes, they are the market changes. They run complex simulations, predicting how a news headline from Tokyo or a shift in oil prices in Dubai will ripple through the New York Stock Exchange fractions of a second before it actually happens. They buy or sell based on a future that is only a heartbeat away, earning billions from the time lag. But it's bigger than just trading. Investment banks use supercomputers to run what are called Monte Carlo simulations. They create thousands of possible futures for the economy at once. A future where interest rates skyrocket. A future where a new technology disrupts an entire industry. A future where geopolitical conflict erupts. They throw their multi-trillion-dollar investment portfolios into each of these simulated futures to see which ones survive and which ones collapse. It's a financial stress test on an unimaginable scale. They are trying to find the safest path through a chaotic and unpredictable tomorrow. Even governments are getting in on the act. Before implementing a major economic policy like a tax cut or a stimulus package, they can now simulate its effects. They can model how that money will flow through the hands of millions of digital citizens, how it will affect inflation, employment, and business growth. The debate is no longer just based on ideology or historical precedent. It's now a battle of simulations. Whose model of the economy is more accurate? Which digital future do we choose to believe in? We've built digital ghosts of our cities to manage the physical world. We've built crystal balls for our economies to manage our wealth. We've taken the man-made systems we barely understand and created virtual laboratories to dissect them. But all of it pales in comparison to the next frontier. The most complex, most mysterious, and most intimate system we have ever encountered. The 3 pounds of electrified tissue between your ears. The human brain. For decades, we've studied the brain from the outside in with scans and probes. It was like trying to understand how a city works by looking at its lights from an airplane. You can see the activity, but you have no idea what's happening in the streets below. High-performance computing allows us to do the opposite. It allows us to try and build a brain from the inside out. Projects like Europe's Human Brain Project and the US Brain Initiative are attempting one of the most audacious feats in scientific history: to simulate the human brain on a supercomputer. The sheer scale is breathtaking. Your brain has approximately 86 billion neurons. Each of those neurons can have up to 10,000 connections or synapses to other neurons. That's close to a quadrillion connections. 1,000 trillion. Modeling the intricate dance of electrochemical signals across that network is a computational challenge that makes global weather forecasting look like simple arithmetic. The world's most powerful supercomputers like Frontier and Aurora are just now reaching the exascale, the ability to perform a quintillion calculations per second. And it's believed that this is the level of computing power needed to even begin simulating the brain at a meaningful level of detail. We are finally at the threshold. Why would we do this? The reasons are as profound as they get. By simulating the misfiring of neurons, we could finally understand the root causes of diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and epilepsy. We could test thousands of potential drug therapies inside the virtual brain, seeing what works and what doesn't, without ever touching a human patient. We could develop treatments for depression, anxiety, and PTSD by understanding the precise neural circuits that go haywire. But the ambition goes even deeper. By successfully simulating the brain's hardware, we might finally begin to understand its software. What is a thought? What is a memory? How does this web of biological wires give rise to creativity, to love, to consciousness itself? We are standing on the verge of turning the greatest philosophical questions of all time into a problem of computer engineering. We started by mapping the flow of air in the atmosphere. Now we are mapping the flow of thoughts. We have built digital twins of our cities, our economies, and now we are trying to build a digital twin of the human soul. The goal is no longer just to predict the path of a storm or the crash of a market. The ultimate goal, the holy grail of high-performance computing, is to predict the next thought. And this brings us to the most terrifying and exhilarating question of all. If you build a perfect simulation of a brain, one that perfectly mimics every neuron and every synapse, is it just a model? Or is it a mind? The ultimate simulation isn't of a thing out there in the world. It's a simulation of the observer. A simulation of you. And the most powerful machines ever built are, at this very moment, trying to wake it up. This isn't a thought experiment scribbled on a napkin in some university cafe. It's an engineering problem. A race funded by nations and corporations to build a mirror. Not a mirror that reflects your face, but one that reflects your mind, your choices, your entire civilization. They call it a digital twin. The concept started simply enough in the world of heavy industry. Take a billion-dollar jet engine. Before it ever leaves the factory, its creators build an identical copy, a perfect one-to-one replica, inside a supercomputer. This digital twin lives a parallel life. Every single real-world flight, every bit of turbulence, every temperature fluctuation is fed into the simulation. The digital engine experiences the exact same stresses as its physical counterpart. Why? So the engineers can see the future. They can fast-forward time, running the digital engine through a million simulated flights in a matter of hours, to find the precise moment a microscopic crack will form, the exact component that will fail. They can predict disaster and prevent it before it ever happens. It's a staggering power. The power to see around the corner. And once you have that power, you don't just use it on jet engines. You get ambitious. You start building bigger twins. What about a digital twin of a city? Imagine a complete, living model of Los Angeles or Tokyo running inside a machine like Frontier or Aurora. Every car, every traffic light, every subway train, every water pipe simulated in real time. You could see exactly how a lane closure on the 405 would ripple outwards, causing gridlock in Santa Monica an hour later. You could test an emergency evacuation plan for an earthquake, running it 1,000 times to find the optimal route, saving thousands of lives before the ground ever shakes. You could model the flow of electricity, predicting a blackout during a heat wave and rerouting power to prevent it. This isn't science fiction. Projects like this are underway right now. They are building predictive engines for our urban future. But even a city is just a collection of systems. The real goal, the Holy Grail, is to simulate the most complex, chaotic, and unpredictable system of all us. A digital twin of society. And to do that, you need data. Unfathomable amounts of data. Every credit card swipe, every website you visit, every show you binge watch, every like, share, and angry comment you post online, it's all fuel. It's the real-world sensor data being fed into the most complex digital twin ever conceived. A model of human behavior. Initially, the goal was simple. Predict what you'll buy. The recommendation engines of Amazon, Netflix, and TikTok are primitive forms of this. They create a low-resolution digital ghost of your preferences, a statistical caricature, and use it to guess what product or video you'll want next. And they are frighteningly good at it. But that's just the beginning. The real power isn't predicting a purchase. It's predicting a belief. It's modeling the flow of ideas, the spread of fear, the tipping point of a protest. It's about understanding the deep, invisible currents that move through society. Financial institutions use HPC to model market sentiment, trying to predict a crash not by looking at stock prices, but by analyzing the collective emotional state of millions of investors, scraped from news articles and social media. Political campaigns build models to identify not just undecided voters, but persuadable voters, simulating how a specific message, delivered at a specific time, might change their mind. They are building a weather map of the human soul. And with it, they believe they can forecast hurricanes of social change. They can see the future of our collective choices. But there's a ghost in the machine. A fundamental problem that haunts every single one of these simulations. It's called a black swan. A black swan is an event that is so rare, so far outside the realm of normal experience, that it's impossible to predict. It's the event that nobody saw coming, but that changes everything afterward. The 2008 financial crisis was a black swan. The global pandemic of 2020 was a black swan. These events don't just bend the rules, they shatter the entire playing field. And by definition, they don't exist in the historical data used to train the predictive models. The machine can't predict what it has never seen. You can have a perfect digital twin of the global financial system, a model that has accurately predicted market fluctuations for a decade. But it's been trained on a world where a specific kind of obscure mortgage-backed security is considered safe. When that assumption turns out to be catastrophically false, the model doesn't just fail, it becomes completely useless. It's a map of a country that no longer exists. This is the terror that keeps the architects of these systems awake at night. The knowledge that their all-seeing eye is, in fact, partially blind. Their crystal ball is cracked. So what is their solution? More power. Infinitely more power. If you can't predict the black swan using historical data, then you have to try and invent it. This is one of the most mind-bending tasks given to today's exascale supercomputers. They run what are called stochastic models, simulations based on randomness. They create a digital twin of our world, and then, like a malevolent god, they just start breaking things. They throw millions upon millions of random what-if scenarios at the simulation. What if a new virus emerges in Southeast Asia? What if a solar flare knocks out a third of the world's satellites? What if a single shipping container gets stuck in the Suez Canal? They are trying to simulate the unimaginable. They are running countless parallel universes, searching for the one that contains the seeds of our own destruction. They are trying to catch a glimpse of the black swan before it takes flight. It is a brute force attempt to map the landscape of chaos, to put a number on the unknown. And here we arrive at the great terrifying paradox of our age. We are building machines to predict the future, to protect us from uncertainty and chaos. We are creating digital twins of our cities, our economies, and our societies to make them more efficient, more stable, and more resilient. We are handing over the reins to the model, trusting the simulation to guide us. But in doing so, we are optimizing our world based on the machine's predictions. We are building a global system that is perfectly designed for the future the computer expects. This makes us stronger against all the predictable storms. But it also makes us infinitely more fragile, more brittle, to the one storm the machine never simulated. The one black swan it didn't imagine. We are building a perfect cage of prediction and control to protect us from the future. But what happens when the future refuses to be caged? What happens when the real world deviates from the simulation and the model doesn't just fail, it shatters? This is the moment of catastrophic failure. The moment the meticulously crafted digital universe collides with the brutal, messy truth of the real one. It's a phenomenon known as a black swan, an event that comes as a complete surprise, has a major effect, and is often inappropriately rationalized after the fact with the benefit of hindsight. Our models, our simulations, are designed to hunt for the predictable, the white swans. They are built on the assumption that the future will, more or less, rhyme with the past. But the most impactful events in history, from world wars to technological breakthroughs to market collapses, are almost always black swans. They are the anomalies the models are blind to, and there is no greater example of a model shattering, of a digital cage failing to hold the future, than the global financial crisis of 2008. It was a cataclysm born inside a computer. For years leading up to it, Wall Street had undergone a quiet revolution. The old guard of traders running on gut instinct and intuition were being replaced by a new breed, the quants. These were physicists, mathematicians, and computer scientists, lured away from academia and research labs by the promise of astronomical wealth. Their weapon of choice wasn't a shouted order on a trading floor. It was a high-performance computing cluster running elegant, complex mathematical models. Their goal was noble, at least on the surface, to conquer risk. To take the wild, unpredictable beast of the financial market and tame it with algorithms. They believed they had found the Holy Grail, a single powerful formula that could quantify, package, and sell risk in a way that made it seem to disappear entirely. It was called the Gaussian copula function. You don't need to understand the math behind it, you just need to understand the dangerously simple idea it sold. It allowed banks to take thousands of risky individual mortgages, subprime loans given to people with poor credit, and bundle them together into a new product called a collateralized debt obligation, or CDO. The model's magic trick was its handling of correlation. It calculated the risk of all these mortgages defaulting at the same time. And according to the historical data fed into the supercomputers, the probability was infinitesimally small. The model basically said, sure, a homeowner in Phoenix might lose their job and default, and a homeowner in Miami might do the same. But the odds of tens of thousands of homeowners in Phoenix, Miami, Las Vegas, and Cleveland all defaulting together, for the same reason at the same time? The model treated it as a statistical impossibility, a once-in-a-billion-years event. Based on this, these CDOs, built from the riskiest mortgages imaginable, were given AAA credit ratings, the same safety rating as U.S. government bonds. The cage was built. The simulation was perfect. The computers, running trillions of calculations per second, all agreed the system was safe. But they all missed one fatal flaw. The model was built on a lie of omission. It assumed that the only thing that mattered was the historical data, a period of unprecedented stability and rising house prices. It never asked the question, what happens if the entire U.S. housing market stops going up? What happens if it goes down all at once? The model's core assumption, that the defaults of individual mortgages were largely independent events, was like assuming that the passengers on the Titanic were all in separate, unsinkable lifeboats. In reality, they were all on the same ship, and it was steaming full speed ahead into an ice field. When the housing bubble burst, the unthinkable happened. It didn't matter if you lived in Phoenix or Miami. The entire economic ship hit the iceberg. Interest rates reset, home values plummeted, and suddenly everyone started defaulting together. The correlation, the factor the model said was near zero, shot up to nearly 1. The once-in-a-billion-years event started happening every single day. The Gaussian copula, this elegant piece of mathematics, became the engine of global collapse. The models shattered. And when they did, they took Lehman Brothers, Bear Stearns, and the entire global economy down with them. The supercomputers that were supposed to prevent risk became the very instruments that amplified it, hiding the single greatest financial bubble in history behind a wall of reassuring, but utterly false calculations. This wasn't just a failure of finance, it was a failure of imagination. A failure to understand a fundamental truth about the universe that even the most powerful supercomputer struggles with: the principle of chaos. We think of chaos as simple randomness, but it's not. It's a terrifyingly sensitive dependence on initial conditions. It was discovered, fittingly enough, by a meteorologist named Edward Lorenz in the 1960s. He was running an early computer weather simulation, and to save time, he rounded one of his initial inputs from 0.506127 to just 0.506. A difference of less than 1 part in 1,000. A rounding error. He went to get a cup of coffee, and when he came back, the simulation had produced a completely different weather pattern. A tiny, almost immeasurable change in the starting point had resulted in a wildly divergent future. This became known as the butterfly effect, the idea that a butterfly flapping its wings in Brazil could set off a tornado in Texas. It's not just a poetic metaphor, it's a mathematical property of complex systems, from the weather to the stock market, to the firing of neurons in our own brains. And this is the ghost in the machine of high-performance computing. We can build supercomputers the size of a city block, capable of performing quintillions of calculations per second. We can feed them every piece of data we have ever collected. But we can never measure the initial state of a complex system with perfect, infinite precision. There will always be a rounding error. There will always be a butterfly we didn't account for. This is why even with our most powerful supercomputers, a detailed weather forecast is still only reliable for about a week. It's not that the computers aren't fast enough. It's that the problem itself is, beyond a certain point, computationally irreducible. You can't predict the future of the system any faster than the system itself can live it. The 2008 crisis was a financial butterfly effect. The tiny, unmeasured variable wasn't the flapping of wings, but the fragile psychology of millions of homeowners, the hidden connections between global banks, the political decisions that encouraged risky lending. These were things that couldn't be neatly plugged into the Gaussian copula function. They were the rounding errors that the model ignored. And when they compounded, they didn't just cause a storm. They caused a hurricane that ripped the global economy apart. So we are left with a terrifying paradox. We have built these godlike machines to see the future and protect us from uncertainty. Yet, they can be blinded by their own assumptions, and their failures can create disasters far greater than any they were designed to prevent. They give us a sense of control, a feeling of mastery over the chaos of the world, but it can be a dangerous illusion. If even our most sophisticated models are fundamentally brittle, and if the universe itself is governed by a chaos that resists prediction, then what is the ultimate purpose of all this computational power? Are we just building faster and faster engines to drive us off a cliff we can't see coming? Or is there another way to think about prediction? A way to use these incredible machines not to build a rigid cage for the future, but to dance with its inherent, unavoidable uncertainty? To dance with uncertainty, you first have to stop trying to eliminate it. You have to accept that the future isn't a single point on a map we're trying to find. It's a vast, unexplored ocean, with shifting currents, sudden storms, and breathtaking, undiscovered islands. And high-performance computing is not a GPS that gives us a single, perfect route. It's the tool that allows us to build a map of the entire ocean at once. This shift in thinking is most visible every single time you check the weather. When a hurricane is churning in the Atlantic, meteorologists don't show you a single black line predicting its path. They show you a cone of uncertainty. That cone is one of the most important and most misunderstood products of supercomputing. It is the physical manifestation of dancing with uncertainty. It's not a failure of prediction, it's the pinnacle of it, because that cone isn't created by one simulation. It's created by dozens, sometimes hundreds, of them run simultaneously on a supercomputer. This is called ensemble forecasting. The process is genius in its simplicity. Scientists take the best possible snapshot of the current atmosphere, temperature, pressure, wind, humidity, everything. Then they create copies of that data, but with a tiny, almost imperceptible tweak in each one. In one simulation, the starting wind speed might be a fraction of a mile per hour faster. In another, the ocean temperature 1/100th of a degree warmer. These aren't random guesses. They represent the tiny margins of error that always exist in our measurements. We can never know the exact state of the entire planet down to the last molecule. The ensemble method embraces this imperfection. It asks a profound question. If reality is just a little bit different than what we measured, how drastically does the future change? Each of these slightly different starting points is then fed into its own universe inside the supercomputer. Each one evolves according to the same laws of physics, but because of that tiny initial nudge, their paths begin to diverge. One simulated storm veers slightly north. Another slows down. A third intensifies more rapidly. After running all these parallel futures, the scientists plot every single projected path on a map. The cone you see on the news? That's the outline that contains the vast majority of those possible paths. It's a statement of humility and power, all at once. It's the machine saying, I cannot tell you exactly where the storm will be in 5 days, but I can tell you with very high confidence the area it is most likely to be in. And you should prepare accordingly. That is the dance. It's not about knowing the future. It's about understanding the possibilities of the future. It's the shift from prediction to preparedness. This same philosophy is now revolutionizing almost every complex field. In finance, Wall Street firms use a technique called a Monte Carlo simulation. They don't try to predict the exact price of a stock tomorrow. Instead, they use supercomputers to simulate their entire investment portfolio 10,000 or 100,000 times. In each simulation, the market behaves slightly differently, based on historical volatility and a dose of programmed randomness. Interest rates might spike. A key trading partner might default. A black swan event might occur. The result isn't a single number that says, you will make this much money. The result is a probability distribution, a chart that says, there is a 95% chance you won't lose more than this amount, but there is a 1% chance of catastrophic failure. They are mapping risk. They are searching for the hidden weaknesses in their financial ship, so they can reinforce them before the storm they can't predict. But no is possible finally hits. Think about designing a new passenger jet. Engineers at Boeing or Airbus can't build 1,000 different prototypes to see which one is safest. So they build them digitally. Using HPC, they can simulate a single wing design under millions of different stress scenarios. They can simulate a lifetime of takeoffs and landings in a matter of hours. They subject the virtual plane to turbulence more violent than any pilot has ever seen, to temperatures colder than the Arctic, to metal fatigue that would take decades to develop in the real world. They are not trying to predict the one way a wing might fail. They are trying to discover every possible way it could fail, so they can design a wing that fails in none of them. They are building for resilience. This is the mature use of predictive power. It's not about building a rigid, optimized world based on a single fragile forecast. It's about building a robust, flexible, and anti-fragile world that can withstand the futures we can't foresee. We use HPC to model the impact of 1,000 different earthquake magnitudes on a city's infrastructure, not to predict the day of the next big one. We do it to find the weak points, the bridges that need reinforcing, the gas lines that need automatic shutoffs, so that when the inevitable happens, the city stands. This brings us to the most critical element in this entire equation, us, the human. For all their power, these machines do not give us answers. They give us data. They give us probabilities. They give us maps of possible worlds. But they are incapable of telling us what to do. They have no wisdom, no values, no sense of what a just or equitable society looks like. A climate model can generate a terrifyingly detailed map of a future world with a 4-degree temperature rise. It can show us the coastlines that will vanish, the farmlands that will turn to dust, the cities that will become uninhabitable. But it cannot tell us how to prevent it. It cannot weigh the economic cost of transitioning to clean energy against the human cost of inaction. It can't make the moral argument or inspire the political will. That is our job. The supercomputer is the ultimate co-pilot. It can process more information and see further ahead than any human ever could, but the human pilot still has to fly the plane. A doctor might use an AI trained on an HPC cluster, that has analyzed millions of medical scans. The AI might report a 98% probability that a shadow on a lung is malignant. But it is the doctor who must sit with the patient, who understands their life, their family, their fears, and help them decide on a course of action. The machine provides the probability, the human provides the care. A city planner looks at an ensemble forecast for sea level rise. The models give her a cone of uncertainty, a range of possible water levels for the year 2080. It's her job, and the job of the community, to decide what to do. Do they build a higher seawall? Do they retreat from the coastline? Do they invest in resilient architecture? The machine can model the hydrodynamics, but it can't model the heart of a community. It can calculate the cost of a wall, but not the value of a home. We are not building these machines to replace our judgment, but to inform it. We are forging the most powerful tools for understanding complexity ever conceived, so that we can make wiser, more humane decisions. The goal is not to outsource our future to a silicon oracle. It's to use these magnificent engines to illuminate the consequences of our choices, to hold up a mirror to the many paths that lie before us, so that we may, with our eyes wide open, choose the best one. We've learned to stop asking the machine what will happen, and started asking it a much better set of questions. What could happen? What are we prepared for? And most importantly, of all the futures that are possible, which one do we want to build? We have turned these machines from crystal balls into consequence engines. We have learned to dance with uncertainty, but this entire time we've been the ones leading the dance. We design the models, we set the parameters, we interpret the results. What happens, though, when the machine starts to learn the steps on its own? When it doesn't just run the simulations we create, but starts creating simulations we could never imagine. That is where the story of prediction enters an entirely new and uncharted reality. This is the difference between reading a map and drawing one. For decades, high-performance computing has been the ultimate map reader. We gave it the terrain, the laws of physics, the rules of chemistry, the data of our world, and it calculated the fastest, most efficient, or most likely path from A to B. But the map itself was always of our own making. We defined the borders, we drew the roads. Now the machine is picking up the pen. It's not just following our instructions anymore. It's developing its own intuition. This isn't just an upgrade. It's a fundamental change in the relationship between creator and creation. At the heart of this revolution are concepts like generative models. Think of it like a contest between two AIs. One is a master forger. Its job is to create a fake. Not a fake painting or a fake signature, but a fake future. A simulation of a weather pattern, a stock market fluctuation, or a protein interaction that is so realistic, so plausible, it's indistinguishable from reality. The second AI is a master detective. Its only job is to look at the forger's work and declare real or fake. Every time the detective catches a fake, the forger learns. Gets better, subtler. Every time the forger fools the detective learns. It develops a more discerning eye. This adversarial game plays out millions, even billions of times per second inside a supercomputer. The forger and the detective relentlessly push each other to a level of sophistication we could never program directly. In the end, what you're left with is a forger, a generative AI that can create scenarios. Not just extrapolations of the past, but entirely novel, physically plausible futures that we have never seen before, but that could happen. Let's make this real. Consider the search for a new life-saving drug. The old way, the way we've used supercomputers for years, is like having a library with 1 billion books and a machine that can read them all incredibly fast. We tell the machine, find me a book that contains the cure for this disease. The computer then simulates how every known chemical compound, every book in our library, interacts with the disease. It's a monumental task, but it's fundamentally a search problem. We are limited by the books already in our library. The new way, the AI doesn't just read the books. It writes new ones. Fed with the fundamental rules of chemistry and biology, the generative AI starts proposing entirely new molecules that have never existed on Earth. It's inventing new chemical sentences, new biological paragraphs. And it doesn't just invent one, it invents millions, and for each one it runs a simulation of how it would behave inside the human body. It's a creative partner that can explore the entire universe of what is chemically possible, not just the tiny fraction that we've discovered so far. This process could collapse 50 years of trial-and-error chemistry into a 5-month project. We're not finding a needle in a haystack anymore. We're asking an AI to design, build, and test 1 million different kinds of needles for us, and then tell us which one works best. Or scale that up to the fate of our entire planet. Our current climate models are masterpieces of human ingenuity, built on centuries of physics and observation, but they are still human models. We input the variables we believe are most important: carbon dioxide levels, solar radiation, ocean currents. The supercomputer crunches the numbers and gives us a projection. But what if there are variables we don't even know are variables? What if there are complex, cascading feedback loops that are too subtle for us to have identified? A generative AI, given all the same raw data, satellite imagery, ice core samples, atmospheric readings from the last century, might not just predict the future based on our model. It might build a better model. It could discover correlations we've missed, identifying a previously unknown factor in Amazonian deforestation that has an outsized effect on North Atlantic weather patterns. It could generate climate scenarios that are not just hotter or stormier, but qualitatively different. It could show us tipping points that aren't on any of our current maps, revealing a future that is not just a worse version of the present, but an entirely different world, governed by dynamics we are only just beginning to understand through the machine's eyes. But this incredible power comes with a terrifying question. When the AI generates a future we've never seen, based on a model that it created, using logic that is buried under a billion layers of neural networks, how do we know if it's right? This is the black box problem magnified to a planetary scale. If a self-learning system predicts an unprecedented financial collapse, triggered by a set of obscure factors that no human economist would ever have connected, do we trust it? Do we restructure our entire economy based on the word of a silicon oracle whose reasoning is fundamentally alien to us? We can check its work on past events. We can see if it successfully predicts the 2008 financial crisis. And it will. But that's just the detective checking the forger's old work. What gives us the confidence to bet our future on a prediction that is, by its very nature, unimaginable to its human creators? This is the precipice we now stand on. The line between calculation and cognition is blurring. The simulations are no longer just mirrors reflecting our own understanding back at us with greater clarity. They are becoming windows, opening up onto landscapes we didn't know existed. The role of the human expert is changing from a programmer who gives instructions to an interpreter, a philosopher king who must look at the visions the machine creates and decide which ones to believe. We are building machines to show us the possibilities we lack the imagination to conceive of. And in doing so, we are forced to confront the limits of our own understanding. The challenge is no longer just about processing power or data storage. It's about trust and about wisdom. Because what happens when this power isn't confined to a single laboratory, working for the good of all humanity? What happens when this technology gets cheaper, more accessible, and more powerful? When competing corporations and rival nations each have their own black box, their own generative simulation engine, all trying to outpredict each other. The race to build a faster jet or a stealthier submarine will look primitive. The new global competition won't be an arms race, but a prediction race. A silent, invisible war fought in petabytes and petaflops, where the prize isn't control over territory, but control over tomorrow. The goal is no longer to react to the future as it happens, but to seize it, to shape it, to own it before it even arrives. And this is the ultimate paradox of high-performance computing. The closer we get to building a perfect crystal ball, the more we realize the future isn't a fixed point in the distance we're hurtling towards. It's a vast, shimmering, probabilistic cloud of maybes. And by looking into it, we change it. The act of observation collapses the wave function not just for a subatomic particle, but for our entire collective destiny. Think about it. If a supercomputer predicts a total market collapse with 99.9% certainty, what happens? Investors, driven by that very prediction, will pull their money out, guaranteeing the collapse they were warned about. The prophecy becomes self-fulfilling. The map doesn't just represent the territory, it actively creates it. This transforms these machines from passive oracles into the most powerful agents of change on the planet. They are no longer just predicting the weather, they are creating the climate, economically, socially, and politically. The person who frames the question for the supercomputer, who chooses the initial data, who defines the parameters of the simulation, they become the silent architects of our reality. The biases embedded in their code, conscious or unconscious, are magnified a trillion-fold and projected onto the world as objective truth, as a glimpse into the inevitable. We are building a new kind of deity, a god in the machine, but this god is forged from our own imperfect image, inheriting all our flaws, our prejudices, and our blind spots. And this begs the most important question of the 21st century. In a world where we can simulate almost any outcome, what is the role of human choice? If a machine can chart the optimal path for your career, for your health, for your relationships, based on a flawless analysis of every variable, do you dare to defy it? Do you dare to choose the uncertain, the inefficient, the beautifully irrational path? The danger is not that these machines will enslave us in the way science fiction imagined, with armies of robots. The danger is that we will willingly enslave ourselves to their logic, trading the messy, unpredictable, and glorious chaos of human experience for the cold, sterile comfort of a perfectly optimized existence. We risk becoming passengers in our own lives, following a flawless itinerary plotted by an algorithm that knows everything about us, except what it truly means to be us. We are standing at a precipice. On one side, a future where this incredible power is used to solve the grand challenges of our time. We could build models that show us, with irrefutable clarity, the precise path to reversing climate change, to eradicating disease, to achieving sustainable energy for all. We could simulate new forms of governance that eliminate corruption and inequality. We could use these digital universes to test our boldest ideas, to fail safely 1,000,000 times in the simulation so that we can succeed just once in reality. We could use HPC to unlock a new renaissance of discovery, understanding the deepest mysteries of the cosmos and the intricate secrets of our own consciousness. It could be the tool that finally allows us to overcome our own cognitive limits and act not as fractured, competing tribes, but as a unified, intelligent species, steering our world with wisdom and foresight. On the other side of that precipice is a darker path, a future where this power is concentrated in the hands of a few, where predictive models are used not to enlighten but to control, to create social credit systems that preemptively punish dissent, to build financial engines that create wealth for an elite few by exploiting infinitesimally small predictive advantages, invisible to the rest of us. A future where our lives are subtly nudged and manipulated by systems that know our desires, our fears, and our weaknesses better than we do ourselves. A world where the beautiful garden of possibilities is pruned down to a single predetermined path, not for the good of humanity, but for the benefit of the system's owner. The war for computational supremacy isn't just about national security or economic advantage. It's a war for the soul of the future itself. It's a battle over whether the future will be a space of open exploration for all, or a closed loop of control for a select few. Ultimately, these machines are not crystal balls. They are mirrors. They do not show us a fixed, inevitable future. They show us the consequences of our present actions, magnified and accelerated. They reflect back to us the sum of our data, the trajectory of our choices, the echoes of our history. The terrifying, awe-inspiring truth is that the outputs of these supercomputers are not predictions. They are warnings. They are possibilities. They are invitations. They are a call to action. A simulation that shows our coastlines underwater in 50 years is not a death sentence. It is a challenge thrown down in silicon and light, daring us to change the input variables. A model that predicts a new pandemic is not an inevitability. It is a blueprint, showing us exactly where our defenses are weakest, and giving us a chance to strengthen them before the enemy arrives. These machines don't absolve us of responsibility. They demand more of it than any generation in human history. They hand us the terrifying, exhilarating power to see the potential consequences of our choices before we make them. The journey into the heart of high-performance computing is, in the end, a journey into ourselves. It's a story about humanity's oldest, most relentless desire. The desire to know what comes next. To pull back the curtain just a little, to find certainty in an uncertain universe. But what we're discovering is that the power isn't in finding a single certain answer. The power is in being able to ask bigger, better, and more profound questions. The goal is not to build a machine that can give us a perfect map of the future. The goal is to use these machines to help us become the kind of people who are wise enough to choose the best path. The future isn't a code to be cracked. It's a world to be built. These machines, these cathedrals of computation humming away in their refrigerated halls, are the most powerful tools we have ever created. But they are still just tools. They have no wisdom, no compassion, no courage. That part, as always, is up to us. The final variable in every simulation, the one that can never be perfectly modeled, is the unpredictable, indomitable, and ultimately uncomputable power of the human spirit.